Why wait for things to get better? It would be smarter to work on your own inner garden before trying to fix the outside world if you can be the change. Focusing on yourself is important if you want to bring the unimaginable into your life. So, in this video, we've put together a collection of wise lessons and quotes that will speak to you and help you reach goals you thought were beyond your reach. These words are meant to soothe the soul and remind you that hard times are short-lived and that your strength is inside you, ready to be woken up. We want you to let these powerful words enter your heart and mind and feed your spirit. Together, we can turn the dark into the light and find the strength to keep going. The art of ataraxia is the first. Let's explore the fascinating world of ataraxia, that state of being calm and peaceful despite the ups and downs of life. For a moment, picture yourself sailing through rough water. The waves are huge, the wind is howling, and the sky is a mix of dark, scary colors. But you don't move. Your eyes stay on the horizon, and you seem calmer than the storm itself. This picture perfectly shows what it means to live in ataraxia, a Stoic idea that I encourage you to learn more about and use in your daily life. First, let's talk about how important it is to stay calm all the time. We have storms, problems at work, personal conflicts, and illnesses that come out of nowhere, just like the sea. These are the waves that are trying to make us less stable. You can't ignore these problems if you want to stay calm. You have to face them with a clear head and a calm heart. Keep in mind that Marcus Aurelius said, "Perfect tranquility consists in the good ordering of the mind in your own kingdom." Every challenge is a chance to get better at staying calm and focused. What can we do to deal with problems in a calm and clear way? Getting ready and having a big picture view are key. As for me, I meditate and think every morning as part of my routine. I take a moment to picture myself calmly facing the problems of the day. By practicing this, I build mental armor that keeps me from acting on impulse and helps me stay calm when things get tough. Today, let's talk about ways to calm down inside. The practice of mindfulness is one that I find especially helpful. By focusing on the present, you can block out worries about the future or regrets about the past. Positive self-talk is another strategy. When I'm having a problem, I tell myself, "This too shall pass, and I can handle it." Changing the way you talk to yourself is important for staying calm. Also, think about how ataraxia affects your ability to make good decisions. When you're calm, your mind can work at its best because it's not clouded by strong emotions. When you're calm, you can make decisions that are not only better thought out, but also better in line with your values and long-term goals. Did you notice that when we're stressed, we make decisions that are more reactive than proactive? This is what you need: ataraxia. Here are some exercises you can do in real life to improve your ataraxia. Visualizing bad things happening is one of my favorites. I often take time to think about the worst things that could happen and how I would handle them. This not only gets me ready for the unexpected, but it also makes me value what I have now more. I also suggest that you keep a gratitude journal. I think about 3 things I'm thankful for every night. This easy thing you do makes you feel good and gives you deep peace of mind. You should make these practices a part of your daily life and watch as you get closer and closer to a state of peace and inner strength. Remember that ataraxia is not a place you get to, it's a journey you never end. Epictetus said, "Be happy, do not wish things to happen the way you want them to, but wish them to happen the way they do." You can learn how to do this, which is called ataraxia. 2. Keeping your will in check. Imagine that you are up against a problem that seems impossible to solve. You don't have many resources, as well as little time. It seems like every move you make puts you back where you started. Now comes the real test, one that checks not only your skills, but also your will. From what I've seen, mastering willpower is not only a key part of being successful, it's also what it means to get through hard times and turn them into opportunities. Stoic fortitude, or the ability to bounce back from bad things, is developed by training the will in a conscious way. As Cicero said, the difficulty of a task is not measured by the effort it requires, but by the will invested in it. I remember a time when I was at work and things looked like they were going to fail. It felt like I could give up on my project because it wasn't moving forward. That being said, I decided at that moment to train my will and see every problem as a chance to improve myself and keep going. It takes persistence, hard work, and most importantly, effective methods to train your willpower, just like it does to train a muscle. This method, which I used myself, involves breaking down big tasks into smaller, easier-to-handle parts. This not only takes the stress off your mind, but it also gives you small wins that add up to more motivation. For example, when I was writing a long report, I would start by organizing each section before I started writing. Every part that was finished was a step toward the goal. Putting things off is probably one of the worst things that can happen to your willpower. To get past it, you need more than just wishful thinking. You need to be very strict with yourself. Establishing a strict schedule and sticking to it, giving each activity a set amount of time, helped me. I learned to respect my own time as well as other people's, which made me much more productive. Think about historical figures like Marcus Aurelius. His stoicism not only kept him strong during battles, but it also helped him rule the Roman Empire. In his personal journal called Meditations, he writes about how strength of will is linked to self-reflection and working for the greater good. Every day, Aurelius had to make choices that not only affected his own life, but also the lives of thousands of other people. He did this with a strong will that was tempered by Stoic ideas. So, I want you to think of these stories and strategies as tools for yourself, not just as stories or advice from other people. You should go through your own internal and external struggles with a strong, trained will that is ready for anything. Just like I did, you will learn that real power comes from mastering yourself first and turning every problem into a chance to do better. 3. Acceptance and being strong. Think for a moment that you are in the middle of a storm, both literally and figuratively. There are dark clouds gathering, and the wind is getting strong, making everything you've built look like it might fall down. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "Strength lies not in resisting the wind, but in knowing where to set the sails." This is important to remember when things are going badly. How can we use this wisdom to grow in acceptance and fortitude in our daily lives? Knowing that some things in our lives are out of our control doesn't mean we have to give up. It just means that we have to accept them as they are. Just a few years ago, I lost a job I really liked because the budget was being cut. At first, I felt hopeless. I quickly realized, though, that I couldn't change the company's finances, but I could change how I dealt with this problem. Transforming pain into a chance to grow is what it means to have a resilient mindset when bad things happen. You can also do it. When you're having a hard time, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Instead of focusing on the issue at hand, try to find answers or different options. Being open-minded and flexible are important for dealing with tough situations. In response to your question, I chose to train and improve my skills in areas I had always been interested in, but never had the time to look into. This not only made me more employable, but it also gave me a new sense of purpose. One of the hardest things to do might be to find strength when things are uncertain. Here, exercises in meditation and deep thought can be very helpful. Meditation helps me think about what I'm thankful for and what I'm good at every morning. This habit has helped me stay calm and positive, even when I don't know what will happen next. It takes time to learn and adapt, so learning to accept and be resilient is a process that cannot be mastered overnight. I have found that writing in a journal is a very helpful exercise. Every night, I write down the problems I had during the day and how I dealt with them. This not only lets me see how far I've come, but it also shows me where I need to improve. You will go through many ups and downs as you work on becoming more accepting and strong. We can handle any storm with grace and strength, though, if we have stoic wisdom and a desire to grow as people. Remember what Marcus Aurelius said, "Our life is what our thoughts make of it." Use your mind to your advantage, and you will be able to get through anything. 4. Be present. Take a moment to picture yourself walking through a park. You look up at the blue sky with its fluffy white clouds and the green trees. You take deep breaths and feel the clean air fill your lungs. This simple, everyday moment is what it means to live in the present and fully experience life as it comes your way. When you wake up in the morning, think of the precious privilege of being alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love, advised the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius. This advice fits perfectly with the practice of mindfulness, which is the ability to be fully present without letting your mind wander to worries about the future or regrets about the past. It feels good to be free, but how do we get to this state? First, let's admit that our minds often wander into the past or the future, making up scenarios that rarely come true or going over things that happened that we can't change. Not only does this make us feel bad, but it also keeps us from enjoying and appreciating the present. Mindfulness shows itself to be a strong ally in this situation. Being present in the present moment means changing how we see things on purpose. It's a constant workout, kind of like working out a muscle that hasn't been used in a while. For instance, as I write these words, I focus on how the keys feel under my fingers and the soft, rhythmic sound of my breath. I let myself become completely immersed in the process of writing these words. This kind of practice can be found in every part of life. Do you enjoy every bite of food you eat, or are you too busy watching TV? Are you really listening when you talk to other people, or are you thinking about what you're going to say next? There are simple but profound practices that teach us to stay in the present moment over and over again. You can try a useful exercise called mindful observation. Pick something you can see right now. It could be a plant, a book, or even your hand. Look at this thing for a minute and notice everything about it, including its color, texture, and the way light moves across its surface. You'll notice that this easy thing can clear your mind and bring you back to the present. Breathing meditation is another good method. Close your eyes and pay attention to your breathing only. You can feel air going in and out of your lungs. If your mind wanders, bring it back to your breath in a firm but gentle way. You can stay in the present more easily with this method. It also calms your mind. And the key to lasting happiness is found right here in this present being. Being mindful frees us from regret and worry, so we can enjoy life, fully appreciating each moment, and be happy with what is, instead of mourning what could have been or being afraid of what might come. So I want you to try mindfulness, not just as another thing to do, but as a way to look at every part of your life with more wonder and gratitude. Remember that being present is a choice that you have to make every day, and that takes practice and commitment. Are you ready to start this trip? Mindfulness is ready for you right now with this very sentence. C. Using virtue as a guide. Lots of us look for a compass to help us make choices and move forward in our lives so that we can reach a meaningful goal. Have you ever needed a clear path for your life to know that each step you take makes you a better person? Based on the teachings of Stoicism, I'd like to share with you a thought I had about a possible path that would be lit by virtue. Take a moment to picture yourself in the middle of a thick forest. When you don't know which way to go, it can be very stressful. That's where virtue comes in handy. It guides you not to the easiest path, but to the right one. It's not always easy to live by our values, especially when we have to deal with daily stresses that make us want to give up on our ideals. But remember what Seneca said: one does not enjoy a full life without challenges. Now, let's look at the Stoic virtues: temperance, wisdom, courage, and justice. Each of these not only describes a personality trait, but also gives you a way to deal with problems in life. Wisdom is the light that shows the way and finds solutions where others only see problems. It is applied knowledge that lets you find words that calm and build instead of hurt in the middle of a heated argument. Instead, courage is the strength to stay strong when things go wrong or you're afraid. Fear itself is not what makes you strong, it's your choice to act anyway. Imagine that you have to do something that has always scared you: speak in public. Being brave is what makes you want to get up on stage, share your thoughts, and leave your mark on the crowd. When it comes to fairness, this virtue asks you to put other people before yourself. Being selfish is often rewarded in this world, so to act justly means to choose to be fair and put the needs of others ahead of your own. Think about times you helped a co-worker because it was the right thing to do, not because you wanted something in return. In a world where we can get what we want right away, temperance, the ability to control our wants and passions, may be one of the hardest virtues to develop. But have you ever felt good about turning down a short-term pleasure because you knew there was something better that would happen in the long run? For me, that's what temperance is all about. These virtues will not only make your life more moral and respectful, but they will also make it fuller and more meaningful. Making decisions based on virtue makes us stronger as people and makes us happier. As Roman Emperor, Marcus Aurelius tried to rule with justice and wisdom. More recently, Nelson Mandela showed unwavering courage and a commitment to justice. These people's stories inspire us to do the same. When you come to a choice, ask yourself what the smartest, bravest, fairest, and most moderate person would do. If you let virtue light your way, you will see that the path may be harder, but it is definitely the one that leads to true meaning and personal fulfillment. As a Stoic reminder, remember these words from Marcus Aurelius: the best way to get back at someone is not to be like them. Sixth, learn about yourself. Now I'm going to tell you a story that shows how an apprentice of Stoic philosophy learns about himself. You may already know that this personal journey starts with a simple but powerful realization. Knowing yourself is the key to all personal growth and wisdom. An ancient Stoic philosopher named Epictetus once said, "Know thyself and don't worry about what others think of you." I remember the day I read those words because I was going through a time of doubt and uncertainty and looking for answers in the wrong places. I kept thinking about that phrase, which made me think deeply about who I was and what I wanted to do. Stoic philosophy, which is based on knowing yourself, taught me how to build a strong base on which to stand. To be strong and balanced when bad things happen, I realized I had to first know my own strengths and weaknesses. Have you ever been totally honest with yourself about the things that you're bad at? This process of introspection is necessary for all Stoics. Over time, I came up with ways to learn more about myself. One was the regular practice of meditation, which gave them a time every day to think. Another thing that helped me was keeping a personal journal where I wrote down not only my thoughts and events, but also how I felt about them. You are welcome to try these methods. You might be surprised by what you learn about yourself and why you do the things you do. As I learned more about myself, I became able to make smarter, more grown-up choices. Every choice I made was based on my values instead of what other people thought I should do. This freed me from a lot of social pressures and let me find a more honest way to reach my goals. Think about how good it would feel to make choices that are completely in line with who you are. Deep questioning was one of the best exercises I found for becoming more self-aware. For instance, when I was in a fight, I wouldn't react right away. Instead, I would ask myself, what part of this was really important for my growth? When I act, am I following my Stoic principles, or am I being swayed by fleeting feelings? This practice helped me figure out what drove me and make sure my actions matched those drives. As I thought about myself, each step and choice I made became a chance to strengthen my character and get closer to Stoic virtue. I want you to start your own journey to learn more about yourself. It's not going to be easy, and sometimes seeing yourself so clearly can be scary. But keep in mind that Marcus Aurelius said, "The mirror of the soul is clear. You only need to clean it to see the light of your true self." So, train your mind, get to know yourself, and let yourself live a fully aware and honest life. Are you ready to start this journey to learn more about yourself? You might have a story as powerful and life-changing as the one I told you. 7. Being able to control your emotions. Consider yourself to be in a tough situation where everything seems to be working together to test you. Your heart is beating fast, and you can feel stress building up all over your body. You have the chance to show one of the most important Stoic principles right now, controlling your emotions. Okay, let me tell you how I learned to stay calm when things got tough. A few years ago, I had a major personal crisis. Emotions were about to flood out like waves crashing hard against cliffs. Instead, I thought of a quote from Marcus Aurelius's Meditations that stuck with me. "You have power over your mind, not over external events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This simple but powerful quote became my mantra during those tough times. I used a method I had learned about in Stoic writings, premeditatio malorum, which means planning to see bad things happening. Before I started my day every morning, I would take some time to think about the problems that might come up and how I would handle them in a calm and sensible way. This practice helped me get ready mentally for anything that might happen, which in turn helped me control my feelings when bad things did happen. I also learned a great deal from emotional distancing, which the Stoics call objectification. Instead of saying, "I am angry," I changed the way I thought and started to say, "There is anger present." This simple shift in how I thought helped me remember that emotions are temporary and don't define who I am. I could watch my feelings like they were moving clouds in my mind's sky, which kept me from giving in to my emotions. When we are feeling very emotional, it's easy to lose sight of our values and act in ways that we will later regret. This is where Stoic wisdom can be very helpful. Stoics believe that our real power comes from being able to decide how to react to any situation. We have no control over what happens to us, but we have control over how we react. Stoics use another basic method to stay calm in any situation. They bring themselves back to the present moment. Sometimes, when I'm in the middle of a heated argument, I stop and concentrate on my breathing. I pay attention to every breath in and out as I calm down. I feel more grounded and in the present moment when I do this simple thing. This lets me act logically instead of emotionally. These strategies are not only helpful in emergencies, but they can also be used every day to find peace and strength within yourself. Not only do they make you feel better, but they also make you a source of peace for other people. Remember that, as Seneca once said, the greatest part of progress is the desire to progress. Try incorporating these Stoic habits into your daily life and see how they improve your ability to control your feelings and make sound decisions in the face of difficulties. Eighth, the power of being thankful. Imagine for a moment that when you wake up every day, the first thing that comes to mind is how thankful you are. A real appreciation for life itself, for the simple act of breathing, and for the chances that each new day brings. Not just a superficial thanks for the things you have. I talk to you, yes you, because I want you to see this practice not as something boring to do, but as an adventure that will lead to your own happiness. At a time in my life when nothing made sense, I learned to be grateful. As each day went by, it felt like the last one all over again. I was totally negative and angry. Then I read a quote from the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. Only when we appreciate what we have can we truly be free. This simple quote truly changed my view. I made it a habit to be thankful every day. First thing in the morning, before I even got out of bed, I would think of 3 things I was thankful for. At first, I was grateful for simple things like being healthy, having a roof over my head, and having food on the table. But as time went on, I started to notice little things I hadn't seen before. The kindness of a stranger, the beauty of a tree on my way to work, and the peace and quiet of a night with no noise. These daily habits changed the way I see things. I saw that there was always something to be thankful for, no matter what I was going through. This is where I want you to stop and think. Every day, do you notice how many things you miss that you should be thankful for? To keep an attitude of gratitude, I started doing things that would help me stay in that state of mind. One was to write down things you're thankful for every day. Before I went to sleep every night, I would write down 3 new things I was thankful for that day. The little things were just as important, if not more so, than the big things. Changing the way I talked to myself was another plan. When I noticed that I was thinking negatively about something, I would try to change my mind and think of something good about it. When I was angry about a traffic jam, I would change my attitude and think, this gives me time to listen to my favorite podcast. It became clearer to me that gratitude and the Stoic mindset of acceptance are linked. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means recognizing and appreciating what is, even if you wish it were different. And in that acceptance, there is a deep peace that comes from knowing that even though we cannot control everything that happens to us, we can control how we react to it. I think you should make it a habit to be thankful every day. Being thankful for every meal, every moment of rest, and every interaction that makes you better can be a good place to start. Always remember that being thankful can change not only your life, but also the lives of those around you. Being thankful for even the smallest things sends out a positive vibe that others can't help but feel. Being thankful isn't just a feeling, it's a powerful way to improve your health and happiness. Another great Stoic, Marcus Aurelius, said, "The quality of our days is defined by the appreciation we give them." So think positive thoughts about being thankful and watch your life change. I promise that the trip is worth it. 9. The change from fear to courage. Think about being on the edge of a cliff. An abyss at your feet tells you to take a step back, but inside you, you feel like you should jump instead of taking a step back. This moment is when you really have to face your fear. It's that crucial moment when what you do can change everything. I have been there, not really on the edge of a cliff, but in situations that called for a leap of faith and where fear was as real as the wind in my face. A wise Stoic named Epictetus once said, "It is only when we face our fears that we discover the true reserves of strength that lie within us." This thought has been a light in my life. When fear's shadows were about to swallow me up, I would turn to it. I turned my fear into courage, and I'll tell you how. Think about the connection between being afraid and having the chance to grow. Every time I faced something scary, I realized that my fear was just a way for me to grow. I remember the first time I had to talk in front of a group. There was a lot of fear, fear of being wrong, and fear of what other people would think. But by facing my fears, I not only got through the experience, but I also found that I love public speaking and have a talent for talking to people that I didn't know I had. So, how can we face our fears with stoic courage and get through them? Preparation and thought are very important. Whenever fear comes up, I take a moment to think about it. What could go wrong? How likely is it that the worst thing that could happen will actually happen? You'll find that the things you're afraid of happening less often than you think, and not as badly as you think they will. Getting ready for situations, even the ones I dread the most, has given me the strength to act when I'm scared. Another aspect that changes things is turning fear into a force that drives people to act. I don't let fear stop me. Instead, I use it to push me forward. This change doesn't happen quickly or easily, but it is very rewarding. Think of fear as energy that builds up in a spring that is compressed. When you let go of that energy, it gives you new strength to move forward. We can't stress enough how important it is to face our fears if we want to reach our full potential. I would not have learned new skills and strengths if I had never been afraid of failing. Every fear you get rid of takes away one step from your biggest goals. Just one brave move right now could lead to a whole new life for you. Finally, I'd like to give you some inspiring examples of people who turned their fear into courage. Think about Ana Torres, a young woman who joined a cave rescue team even though she was scared of being alone and in the dark. Her determination to get over her fear not only saved lives during a very important mission, but it also turned her fear into a story of bravery. I want you to think about your own fears. You should think about how each of them is a hidden chance for you to grow as a person and in your career. When you're scared or doubtful, remember that courage is not having fear, but getting rid of it. Are you ready to make the big step toward changing yourself? 10. The art of letting go. I have learned a useful skill called the art of detachment that has helped me achieve more peace and emotional freedom. Take a moment to picture yourself in the middle of a forest. You are simply observing as the trees all around you gently sway in the wind, not attempting to control the wind's direction or the sound of the leaves rustling. The essence of detachment is this state of just observing what is, without trying to hold on to it or change it. People often mistake detachment for a lack of interest or indifference, but it's really a call to break free from the chains of our own predetermined expectations and outcomes. I want you to think about how many times you've been upset or anxious when things didn't go the way you planned. That kind of tension has happened to me many times. We can choose to live with the conviction that, even if we do our best, the end result is not always in our hands through detachment. When you do it every day, detachment turns into an exercise in acceptance. For instance, when I was trying to fix a big problem in a relationship, I used to think too much about how what I did or said would be taken. I learned that I needed to focus on being real and honest with other people and let go of worrying about how they would see me or whether I would get what I wanted. This change in focus not only took away a lot of stress, but it also made my relationships stronger in a way that felt more natural and less forced. Another important idea in Stoic philosophy is detachment. Stoics believe that we can find peace by accepting the things we can't change and focusing on how we act and think about things. Epictetus once said, "We can only start to find peace when we accept the futility of holding on to things we can't control." This way of thinking has given me the peace of mind and calmness I need to deal with problems at work and in my personal life. Let's talk to you straight now. Imagine that you are in a tough spot. It could be a disagreement at work or a personal goal that seems impossible to reach. You are welcome to try detachment. Ask yourself, what can I control here? Then put all of your energy into that and let go of the rest. I know this isn't easy, but if you keep at it, it will help you feel a lot less stressed. Start with small steps to make detachment a part of your daily life. Acceptance meditation is a method I've found to be useful. Every morning, I close my eyes for a few minutes, take deep breaths, and accept all of my thoughts and feelings without judging them. This makes it easier for me to keep a level head the rest of the day. A lack of interest or passion is not the same thing as detachment. Detachment is the wisdom of not letting things out of our control sweep us away. At the end of the day, detachment lets us live fully and accept the way things are with strength and grace. Marcus Aurelius said, "Master your reactions, and you have conquered your peace." Just remember that. That's why you should think thoughts that set you free and at peace, no matter what life does. The balance between want and moderation. As my life has gone around and around, I have often been at the point where I should want something and not want it. As the author of my own story, I want you to think about how the balance between these two things can change our lives and lead to real, long-lasting happiness. For a moment, picture yourself in front of a banquet with endless options, with each course representing a wish, goal, or dream. You might want to take on everything at first and fill your plate to the brim. But I've learned that how we handle the things we choose is more important than how much we have. These are the kinds of things that make it important to keep our goals in check. It's not about denying or getting rid of our desires. It's about using them in a way that makes our lives better without taking over. As I walked through the city one afternoon, I remember being drawn to the stores that were full of the newest technology. Because I like new things, my first desire was to buy the newest gadget. But I stopped and thought, do you really need this? Will it make your life better, or is it just a short-term pleasure? This break gave me time to think of a good way to control my wants and stop myself from overindulging. That's what I did. With each step, I could feel how moderation freed me from chains of made-up needs that weren't real. Moderation, a virtue that is very important to Stoic thought, not only stops people from going too far, but it also makes them stronger. Cicero said, "The poor person is not the one who has little, but the one who wants more." We gain peace of mind and personal satisfaction by practicing temperance in addition to better managing our resources. It teaches us to enjoy every moment and be thankful for what we have instead of feeling bad about what we don't have. From my own experience, the link between moderation and Stoic temperance becomes more clear when things are going badly and problems are piling up. Having temperance helps me remember that I can control how I react to things, even if I can't always control the things that happen. This basic toughness is what lets us keep going with grace and steadiness, even during the worst storms. I want you to think about how moderation can make our lives better. Just think about the last time you made a moderate choice and how it made you feel. You might have turned down a job offer that would have paid more but given you less time with your family. Even though it was hard, making that choice must have brought you more peace and balance in your life. When life gives you a lot to choose from, remember that moderation is not just a choice to limit yourself. It's a way to choose deeper and more meaningful well-being. This ancient wisdom is still true today, so I urge you to accept it and find the balance that will make your life a masterpiece. Have you ever thought about how little habits can make a big difference in your life? What hidden power is in the simple things we do every day that we do without giving much thought to the journey of our lives? There are times when we all feel very sad and depressed, and it can feel like the whole world is on our shoulders. But it's important to remember that we are not alone when these things happen. Therefore, in this video, we've carefully chosen a set of uplifting and comforting lessons to accompany you on your emotional journey. These lessons will help you change your whole life in just 1 week by following these unbreakable rules that I'll explain below. These words are meant to soothe the soul and remind you that trouble doesn't last forever and that you have strength inside you, ready to be woken up. Whether you're going through a personal crisis, grieving a loss, or just need some extra support and motivation in your life, these lessons are here to give you support, motivation, and hope. 1. Be in the present. I've learned that living in the present moment is the key to a fuller and more meaningful life. That's not just a trendy phrase, it's a way of life that changes how we experience every moment. Do you ever think about how often your mind is somewhere else, like the past or the future, instead of where you are in the present? Being mindful has helped me find my way on this journey. You may be wondering what mindfulness is. Being able to fully be in the present moment, without judging or getting caught up in thoughts or feelings from the past or the future. The small things in daily life that mean this to me are the smell of coffee in the morning, the sound of rain on the roof, and the way the sun feels on my skin. You enjoy each moment as if it were one of a kind, which it is. Being able to accept what I can't change is one of the most important lessons I've learned. How much time and effort have I previously wasted feeling bad about things I couldn't control? I no longer fight against the flow. Instead, I learn to accept it. When I accept something, I'm not giving up. Instead, I'm letting go of my feelings and focusing on what I can change. Again, another important thing is to focus on what I can control. How many times have you felt like you couldn't handle problems that seemed impossible to solve? When I realized that focusing on what I can control makes me feel strong and independent, I stopped being that way. I can control things like what I do, what I think, and how I feel. My energy is better spent on things I can control instead of useless worries. It's better spent on actions that move me closer to my goals. You know how much time we spend worrying? Think about how much time you spend worrying about the past or the future. I used to be very good at that. I would keep thinking about mistakes I made in the past or worry about what would happen tomorrow. Never let the future worry you. Do not face it with fear, but with hope and optimism, said Marcus Aurelius. This made me feel better. These days, I try not to think about what has happened or what will happen in the future. Instead, I try to find peace in the present moment. Being at peace with the present does not mean that everything is always good and easy. Life has its ups and downs, but what matters is how we choose to deal with them. Living in the present moment has helped me find an inner strength that helps me deal with problems in a calm and clear way. Every day is a chance to learn, grow, and connect with the beautiful world around us. Let's practice mindfulness together, accept what we can't change, focus on what we can control, and stop worrying about the past or the future. Let's find peace in the present moment, because, as Epictetus said, don't worry about what you have no control over. Worry about the things that you have control over and that you can do something about. 2. Be open to change. There are always new things happening in my life because it is so busy. There are times when these changes feel like a soft breeze on my face, and times when they feel like storms that could carry me away. I have learned, though, that the best way to deal with them is not to fight them, but to accept that they will happen and enjoy how everything around me changes all the time. I used to stick to things, people, and situations like they were glued to my body when I was younger. But as time went on, I saw that this way of thinking only caused me pain and frustration. That's when I decided to accept the idea that everything is always changing and that holding on to things that aren't there anymore is pointless and tiring. I have learned that adapting to different situations is one of the most important things I can do. I remember a time when things were tough at work. My company was reorganizing and a lot of my co-workers were being fired. I chose to take control of my life instead of giving in to fear and doubt. I taught myself new things, made more contacts, and kept my options open for any chance that came up. In the end, that reorganization gave me the chance to be promoted to a job I never would have thought possible. What you need to know is that change isn't always bad, even though it can be upsetting or painful at times. Besides that, they bring chances to learn and grow. I remember another time when something unexpected happened in my personal life. A relationship I thought was strong ended. I felt lost and confused for a while, but then I chose to focus on myself. I spent the time getting back into things I loved, trying out new things I was interested in, and getting closer to my family and friends. What seemed like a tragedy at first turned out to be a chance to find myself again and become more emotionally strong. At the heart of it all is a mindset that is both adaptable and strong. Seneca, a Stoic philosopher, once said, "Life is like a river. It always flows and changes its course. Our wisdom lies in learning to swim in its rough waters with grace and courage." This quote says it all about embracing change. Having a mindset that is open to change and flexibility helps me stay calm and focused in any situation, knowing that I can handle any challenge that comes my way. Accepting change is a key part of getting through life's rough spots. We can develop a flexible and resilient mindset that will help us do well even in the worst situations by accepting that things change, learning to adapt to them, and seeing the good in them. Take a deep breath, be open to the possibilities, and remember that life is always moving, just like a river that never stops flowing. There will be times when things change without warning. 3. Learn to be moderate. It's not always easy to tell the difference between happiness and sadness, or between being full and feeling empty. From a very young age, I have learned to live by the principle of moderation, which is where this line is. I realized that staying away from extremes in my feelings and actions was very important for my health. A long time ago, I was ruled by my impulses and worked hard to reach my goals without stopping to enjoy the journey. I was so focused on being perfect at everything I did that I hurt my health and relationships with other people. But as time went on, I saw that this way of doing things only made me unhappy and burned out. That's when I decided to find a middle ground between having too much and not having enough. I learned to set clear limits for myself because I knew I couldn't do everything and that it's okay to take a break now and then. For example, at work, I promised to set aside a certain amount of time every day to relax, whether that meant going for a walk, meditating, or just eating a good meal. Getting into healthy habits became very important to me. As an alternative to falling into bad habits like drinking too much or not working out enough, I decided to pay more attention to my physical and mental health. Working out regularly, eating well, and getting enough rest became part of my daily life, which made me feel more energized and focused. Saying no became a way to control myself and boost my confidence. It was hard at first, but I learned to know my limits and focus my time and energy on the things that really mattered. This meant turning down social invitations when I needed to relax or refuse to take on more than I could handle. My mantra became finding happiness in simplicity. In a world that is obsessed with buying things and getting more of them, I learned that the simple things in life are what make me happy. A deep conversation with a loved one, the beauty of nature, or just being in the present moment. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic philosopher, said, "True greatness lies in the moderation of our passions and desires." Moderation has helped me see things more clearly, freeing me from the weight of unrealistic expectations and letting me live a fuller, more genuine life. 4. Gain virtue. The way to happiness is through virtue, which shows you the way. As unwavering pillars of my being, I cultivate wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These words are not just words, They are what I build my life on. I look for wisdom, that light that gets rid of the darkness of ignorance in everything I do, everything I read, and everything I talk to other people. I think about the little things I did and try to figure out how I could grow without knowing what was going on in the world and where I fit in it. I find courage, that inner strength that makes me bravely face challenges every time my fears fight back. I don't mind falling because I know that getting back up is the real win. What would happen to me if I hid from trouble instead of facing it head-on? I fight for justice in every choice I make, that balance that keeps things in order and safeguards everyone's worth. Every wrong done to one person is a threat to everyone else, so I can't close my eyes to it. If I let injustice run wild, how could I look at myself in the mirror? I choose to be temperate every time I make a decision. It's what keeps my wants in check and my passions satisfied. Momentary urges don't get the best of me. Instead, the calm voice of reason guides me. What would I gain if I let my emotions take over and stopped controlling my actions? Every choice I make affects my future, so I think about what I did and how it turned out. I always try to do the right thing, not because it's simple, but because I feel it's the right thing to do. Self-discipline is something I do to strive for moral excellence, because I know that the path to virtue is full of problems that can only be solved through discipline. I live by the values I want to see in the world, because I know that real change starts with each of us. Seneca said, "Happiness is attaining virtue and living by it." I try to be true to those values in every step I take, word I speak, and action I perform, because I know that this is where true greatness in people lies. 5. Be thankful for what you have. Everyday life can be very busy, and it's easy to get caught up in the chaos of things we don't have or want. This can keep us from noticing the good things we already have. But what if you take a moment to think about how important it is to be thankful for what you have? Being thankful every day is like a balm for the soul. Ever think about how the little things that happen every day make your life better? Every moment is full of things to be thankful for, like the sunrise that starts a new day and a friend's simple smile. Like today, I stopped in the park on my way through to enjoy the fresh morning air and look at the bright flowers. I was very thankful for the beauty around me at that very moment. To develop a mindset of abundance, you must first be aware of the good things in your life. Never think about all the things you have that other people wish they had. You have a roof over your head and food on the table every day. These are gifts that we often forget about. To give you an example, when I got home today and savored each bite of dinner, I thought about how lucky I am to be able to get healthy food. By shifting your attention from what you lack to what you have, you can completely change your life. Have you ever thought about how different your day would be if you focused on the good things instead of the bad? There are many things in your life for which you should be thankful, from the skills you have to the people you know. For example, while I was working on a project today, I didn't complain about how hard it was. Instead, I thought about my strengths and the tools I had available. The best way to be happy every day is to learn to enjoy the little things. Have you ever thought about how different your life would be if you learned to enjoy the little things? It's easy to forget how much joy is in every moment, like the smell of coffee in the morning or the sound of rain on the roof. For instance, I took a break from reading a book today to enjoy the warmth of the sun coming in through the window. I was thankful for that brief moment of peace. You can change the way you see the world by choosing to have an attitude of abundance and happiness. Thought about what your life would be like if you focused on what you have instead of what you don't have. All the good things in your life, like the love that surrounds you and the chances that come your way every day, make you feel fulfilled. At the end of the day today, for example, I took some time to think about all the good things that had happened and felt very thankful for the life I live. Happiness is not having what you desire, but appreciating what you have, said Epictetus. You can choose how you see things at any time. Do you want to choose to be thankful for everything and see each moment as a gift? Sit down and own your feelings. Picture this. When you wake up in the morning, the sun is shining in through the window and caressing your face. Do you smile when you wake up and feel thankful for another day? Or do you get stuck in a routine and worry about what you don't have instead of being thankful for what you do have? I used to be the second type. I was always planning ahead and setting goals, and I never stopped to enjoy the present. But when I started being thankful every day, everything changed. Before I get out of bed in the morning, I close my eyes and think of 3 things I'm thankful for. It can be something as simple as the sound of rain on the roof, the smell of fresh coffee, or a hug from a friend or family member. I had a hard time at first to find things to be grateful for, but my mind learned to find the good in everything over time. It does work, though. Being grateful for the little things in my life that were good changed everything. I chose to value what I already have instead of dwelling on what I don't have. It's not about fitting in. It's about developing a mindset of plenty and happiness. You already have everything you need to be happy if you just think about what you have. I was late for an important meeting one time because I got stuck in traffic. I chose to focus on what was around me instead of getting stressed out. There was not a cloud in the sky when I looked out the window. On the radio, I heard my favorite song, and the sun felt good on my skin. That's when I realized it didn't matter if I was late, because I was already having little happy moments. A walk in the park, a chat with a friend, and a hot cup of tea on a cold afternoon are all small things that matter. To live a full and happy life, you need to learn to enjoy the little things. Marcus Aurelius said, "The less you worry about tomorrow, the more time you will have to enjoy today." I challenge you to take this to heart every day. Every morning, take a moment to think about the good things in your life. Focus on what you have instead of what you don't have, and learn to enjoy the little things because they make life beautiful. 7th, face your fears. Face your fears and break through your limits. The first step to emotional freedom is to figure out what our fears are that hold us back. I can tell you this because it's true for me. I remember very well the day I realized that my fear of public speaking was holding me back in my career. I felt like I had a heavy chain around my neck every time I stood in front of a crowd. But I chose not to let my fear stop me. Building up the courage to act anyway was hard, but it also gave me a chance to learn and grow. I decided to face my fear by starting with small groups, and then slowly adding more people until I could speak in front of bigger groups. Every time I did that, I felt more sure of myself. Being brave doesn't mean not being afraid. It means being able to move forward even when you're scared. The most important part of my process was picturing success instead of failure. I didn't think about what could go wrong. Instead, I imagined what it would be like to be sure of myself and do well on stage. I imagined the audience's cheers and the satisfaction of having sent a powerful message. This practice helped me change my mindset and put all of my energy toward reaching my objectives. It was important to accept risk as a way to grow as a person. It was clear to me that progress comes with some risk. While facing our fears, there will always be a chance of something going wrong, but it's that chance that makes us grow. The greatest obstacle for man is the fear of himself, said Seneca. If you are brave enough to face it, you will find out how great you really are. The best gift I could have given myself was to find strength in facing my fears. Every time I got past a problem, I felt stronger and better able to handle it. I was no longer held back by my fears. Instead, they were pushing me toward my goals. So I want you to face your fears with strength and courage. Recognize what's holding you back Develop the courage to act, picture yourself succeeding, accept risk, and find your strength in getting through it. Don't forget that behind every fear is real freedom and growth. Eighth, think about yourself. In the fast-paced world we live in now, we often don't take time to think about who we are. But what if you took a moment to look at yourself and explore the fascinating world of self-reflection? Let me lead you on this journey of self-reflection, where you will learn how looking inside can change you. Every day, I give myself time to get lost in my own thoughts. Whenever there is silence, I spend a lot of time thinking about myself and figuring out what drives me. I pay close attention to how I react to different situations so I can see my strengths and weaknesses. Thinking about myself every day has become a sacred ritual that helps me stay in touch with my true self. As I think about, speak, and do things, I become more aware of how they affect my life and the lives of those around me. How do my thoughts change how I feel? How do my words affect other people? Do the things I do match my values and goals? These are some of the questions that help me learn more about myself and grow as a person. On my way to growing as a person, I can't help but make mistakes. But I don't feel bad about them. Instead, I see them as chances to learn. Every mistake I make teaches me something important that helps me get better, make smarter choices, and learn more about myself and the world around me. Setting clear goals is a very important part of my plan to improve myself. Each goal I set helps me make decisions and act in a way that is consistent with those goals. But making goals isn't enough. I need to check in on my progress often to make sure I'm on the right track. Am I getting closer to my goals? How can I make changes so that I can keep moving forward? This kind of questioning helps me stay on track with my personal growth. Having an honest relationship with myself is important for my mental and spiritual health. I promise to always be honest with myself, even if it's hard to accept the truth. I know my flaws and limitations, but I also enjoy my strengths and what I've done well. With this honest relationship, I can accept all of myself, which gives me the peace I need inside. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "The wise man is the one who knows himself." Reflecting on myself is my best friend as I search for wisdom and authenticity all the time. It helps me figure out who I really am and who I want to be. 9. Show kindness to yourself and to other people. One important thing I've learned about life is how important it is to be kind to yourself and to other people. This idea, which comes from empathy and kindness, goes beyond what is merely human and becomes a basic part of how we interact with each other every day. When we are kind and understanding to others, it's like planting seeds of kindness in the garden of our relationships. I remember a time when a close friend was having a rough time. I chose to listen to him without judging him and to offer my full support. I didn't criticize him or point out his mistakes. Instead, I tried to understand what he was going through and be there for him. That one simple act of understanding made our relationship stronger and made him feel understood and accepted. However, we can't fully understand other people until we forgive ourselves for our own flaws and mistakes. We all do bad things. Being human means that we have to deal with it. When we admit our flaws and forgive ourselves, we free ourselves from anger and can grow and change as people. I can remember a time when I did something wrong at work that had big effects. I didn't blame and criticize myself. Instead, I chose to forgive myself, learn from what happened, and move on with more determination. Being able to forgive ourselves grows when we understand that everyone is inherently human. We all feel the same things, have the same problems, and face the same challenges in life. Realizing that we all have this in common helps us show empathy and compassion in our relationships. When we know that everyone has problems inside, we can connect with others on a level of understanding and support. Developing empathy and compassion means more than just caring about people who are close to us. It also means helping and supporting people who are in need, even if they are strangers to us. There was a time when I saw a stranger on the street who looked like they were having a hard time. I didn't want to walk by him without stopping to say a few words of support and say something positive. I hope that even though we only talked for a short time, it was enough to let him know that he is not alone in his problems. Being kind to yourself and others is an act of true humanity. Not being like your enemy is the best revenge, as Marcus Aurelius said. When we practice compassion, we not only make deeper connections with other people, but we also get closer to our true selves, which are based on kindness and understanding. Thus, show compassion to both yourself and others, and experience how empathy and compassion can change your life. 10. Find your reason for being. It's like finding the most valuable treasure in your life, your purpose. Let me take you on a journey to learn more about yourself. We will talk about your unique values, passions, and skills to find a way forward that has purpose and meaning. First, have you ever thought about your deepest values? These are the things that you do and decide based on them. I felt like turning on a light in the middle of the dark when I found my values. One time, I had to decide whether to take a path that would have made me financially stable but went against my morals, or I could go down a path that was risky but in line with what I really believed in. I chose the second option, and I have no regrets at all. Living in line with your values gives you an unbeatable sense of well-being. Let's talk about passions now. What are you really interested in? What kinds of things make you feel alive and energized? Writing has always been very important to me. I have lost track of time while reading and writing since I was a child. I found my purpose by figuring out what I love to do. When I do what I love, I feel like I'm on the right track. But what good is a purpose if you don't have unique skills and strengths to back it up? We all have unique skills that are just waiting to be found. I can still remember the moment I realized I naturally connect with people and help them solve their issues. This skill has become an important part of my purpose because I can use it to make other people's lives better. Now, making goals that are in line with your purpose is like making a plan for how to get where you want to go. What do you want to do with your life? Why are you passionate about those things? What skills or values can you use to get there? For me, making clear and specific goals has helped me move steadily toward my goal. Every little thing I do moves me closer to my goal of living a meaningful life. Also, since we're talking about meaning, have you found it in your relationships and work? It's simple to get stuck and forget what's important, but if you find meaning in your relationships and the things you do, every day is a chance to grow and thrive. I remember the day I finally found a job that guaranteed my financial security and gave me the chance to make the world a better place. That happiness and contentment made every day worth living. Finally, the key to a full and happy life is to live each day with a sense of direction and purpose. Not only is it important to reach your goals, but you should also enjoy the journey and be happy at every turn. The purpose of life is a life of purpose, said Cicero. Finding your purpose is an exciting journey of getting to know yourself better. Think about your values, figure out what you're passionate about, use your strengths, make clear goals, find meaning in what you do, and live each day with a sense of direction and purpose. Your life needs meaning and purpose, and you can give it to it. 11. Learn to not care about what other people think. In a world where people's opinions are like bells in a town square, learning to ignore them is a skill that is needed to stay emotionally stable. On my own path, I've learned that the most important thing is to not let those opinions change how I feel about my own worth. My value doesn't depend on whether other people like me or not. It's an inherent treasure, a jewel that shines on its own no matter what other people do to it. I have full faith in my own judgment. It's like a lighthouse in the storm, a sure way to find my way through the fog of other people's opinions. I feel safer and more sure of myself in life when I follow my own judgment. Of course, constructive criticism is like polish that makes me better, but other people's negative comments don't affect me. Why should I let the ugly words of other people pollute my calm inner lake? I'm willing to accept criticism that helps me improve, but I'm not going to back down from arrows that are meant to hurt. The way I feel about approval from other people is detached. I don't seek it out like a thirsty pilgrim in the desert. Instead, I find my oasis in the source of self-love and acceptance that never runs out. Why depend on tons of praise from other people when I can make myself feel good about myself? What makes me valuable is not what other people say about me, not what they praise or criticize. My worth comes from a constellation of unique qualities, a symphony of virtues that hits me deep down. Aristotle once said, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." I don't care what other people think, so I stand firm, trusting my own judgment, accepting constructive criticism without letting negativity affect me, working on separating myself from other people's approval and finding my worth beyond the noise of the world. On this journey of self-discovery, I am in charge of my own ship and am determined to reach the promised land of being true to myself and being happy inside. Do not be afraid to enjoy things in silence. Finding moments of silence in the middle of all the noise and activity of daily life is a treasure that many people miss. In a world that never seems to be quiet, how do you learn to enjoy silence? Giving yourself time to be still and think is the answer. I remember one afternoon when I chose to get away from the city's noise and chaos. I left the noise of the city and went for a walk in a nearby forest. There, with only the sound of birds singing and leaves rustling, I found a peaceful place. My mind fought at first because it was used to being constantly stimulated, but as I let go of distractions and became more open to silence, I could hear my inner voice more clearly. Meditation is a great way to get closer to yourself and grow this connection. By focusing on the breath and letting our thoughts flow without holding on to them, sitting in silence teaches us to be in the present moment without any outside help. When we're calm, our minds clear, and the answers we're looking for often come to us on their own. As the Stoics teach, silence is a friend that will always be there for you. It's in silence that we can get away from the noise of the outside world and find peace within ourselves. But turning off electronics and finding quiet places are not enough to learn to enjoy silence. It's more of a way of life, learning to be calm even when things are going crazy. I remember another time when I chose to embrace the noise instead of running away from it. I was sitting alone with a coffee in a busy coffee shop. I chose not to let the conversations going on around me overwhelm me. Instead, I chose to just listen to them without judging or joining in. That's when I realized that silence isn't always the lack of noise, but the ability to find peace in it. The important thing is to learn how to block out outside noise and distractions, both mentally and physically. A lot of the time, the most annoying noise comes from inside, from the constant chatter in our minds. We can find a place of stillness that is always there, even when things are going crazy, if we learn to watch our thoughts without identifying with them. Allow yourself some time to think, to hear your inner voice, and to connect with yourself in silence. You can learn to be present in the moment without any outside help, whether you're in nature, meditating, or just going about your daily life. You can feel calm and clear in silence, and you can also connect deeply with yourself and the world around you. 13. Be disciplined with yourself. Self-discipline is your best friend on the way to success. I'm telling you this from my own experience. Do you want to reach your targets? Then get ready to make habits and routines that will help you move forward. It might seem hard at first, but picture it this way. You are building a bridge to your dreams, and each steady step you take brings you closer. I remember the day I chose to learn a new language. I set aside time every day to study, setting aside at least an hour before I started my day. At first, it seemed like I would never be satisfied. I barely noticed progress after a week, but after a day, I saw big changes. But I didn't give up. I knew that every little thing I did would add up and bring me closer to my goal. And it did. After a while, I could see the results of my hard work. I could understand and talk to people better. The long-term benefits were much greater than any short-term pain. It's natural to want to put things off or get caught up in laziness or procrastination, but self-discipline means facing those problems head-on with focus and determination. I remember when I was working on an important project and the urge to put it off started to come up. I could do it tomorrow, I told myself. But then I remembered my promise to myself and my determination to reach my goals, and I pushed through the temptation with unwavering focus. Strong will is like a muscle. That thing gets stronger as you use it more. When was the last time you planned to lose weight? At first, maybe it was hard to say no to those sweets or fast food that were tempting, but each time you consciously gave in to a temptation, your willpower got stronger, and you were better able to say no to future temptations. Developing that willpower is important for staying self-disciplined in all areas of life. Self-mastery gives you the most satisfaction in the end. You feel very accomplished when you can control your urges and stick to your routines and habits, even when tempted to do something else. No man is free unless he is master of himself, said Epictetus. You are in charge of your own life when you control your own will. So, my friend, don't underestimate the power of self-discipline. Set up routines, stop putting things off, work on your willpower, and enjoy the feeling of mastering yourself. There are steps you can take to become more self-controlled. Each one brings you closer to the person you want to be. Be honest in your life. On my journey through life, there is a lighthouse that always shows me the way. Integrity isn't just a pretty word I throw into the wind. It's a philosophy that runs through my whole being and guides me in everything I do. How can we find our way through life without this lighthouse, this thing that keeps us on track? I have been dedicated to living a moral life since the beginning of time. This is more than just following the rules that society sets or the norms that are forced on you. It's a promise to myself, to my deepest beliefs and values. How can I hope to get through life's rough patches if my eternal compass doesn't point to truth and right? Being true to my morals and principles is like putting my ship's anchor in solid ground, even when the storm is threatening to blow me off course. I remember a time when I had to make a tough choice at work. A co-worker suggested a quick fix that would have helped me, but was unethical. I had to remind myself at that moment how important honesty is, so I chose the longer but more honest path. Even though it was hard, I could hold my head high because I knew I hadn't given up my morals for short-term gain. Sincerity and honesty are what I use to build relationships with other people. I talk to my friends, family, and co-workers from the heart, telling them the truth without sugarcoating it or making it seem better than it is. This helps me build real relationships and earns the trust and respect of those around me. It was hard to face the consequences of my actions, but being honest helped me keep my character. I remember a time when I made a mistake at work, and instead of trying to hide it, I admitted it and worked to fix it. Being unwilling to give in for the sake of ease or personal gain is like guarding a valuable treasure in a world where fraud and temptation are everywhere. Even though it can be hard to stick to my beliefs, I always remember what Epictetus said: "Integrity is the first of a wise man." This gives me the strength to resist temptation and do what I know is right. The armor that protects my honor is that my words and actions must match up. I can't say one thing and then do something else. Being open about my life is like writing in a book. Everything I do adds to the story of who I am. I remember making a promise to help a friend with a big project, but always putting it off over and over again. I realized that what I was doing did not match up with what I was saying, so I quickly changed how I was acting to keep my character honest and consistent. Being honest isn't just a choice. It's a promise you make to yourself and others every day. I earn the trust and respect of those around me by staying true to my principles and values, being honest and sincere in all my interactions, and not sacrificing my integrity for ease of use or personal gain. When I look in the mirror at the end of the day, I can hold my head high because I know I have lived a good life and made the world a better place. Learn to accept what will happen. Life can seem like an out-of-control torrent of events, a raging river that sweeps everything in its path at times. There is a very important lesson that stands out from all the chaos. Accepting fate is an old art, a philosophy based on Stoic wisdom that teaches us to accept that some things are out of our control and to accept things as they are without fighting them. At one of the worst times in my life, I understood how important this principle was. I had worked hard on a project that I thought was my masterpiece, but just as I was about to finish, things went wrong that were out of my control, and everything fell apart. I chose to follow the Stoic philosophy and accept what was going to happen instead of letting my sadness drag me down. As I went through the process, I felt frustrated and angry at first, but over time I learned to find peace in accepting that some things were meant to be different. I chose to go with the changes in my life rather than fight them and accepted the situation as it was. I remember a Stoic quote that really spoke to me at the time. "In the acceptance of fate lies the truth. It was freedom." This quote became my mantra, something I used to help me be calm and accepting of fate. Accepting fate doesn't mean giving up and letting things happen as they may. Instead, it means changing with grace and finding the inner strength to deal with even the hardest problems in a calm and determined way. For instance, I chose to see the failure of my project as a chance to learn and grow instead of being sad about it. I gave myself time to get used to the new situation and look for new chances that came up because of it. In the end, this willingness to accept and change things led me down paths I never would have gone down otherwise. We can find peace in the midst of chaos, adjust to changes in our lives, and face difficulties with calm and strength if we can learn to accept our fate. As Seneca said, "We cannot choose our circumstances, but we can choose how we respond to them. If you accept your fate, change with it, and go with the flow, you will find new strength that will help you get through life's rough spots."